boys and girls and boys, attack helicopters and super intelligent shades of the colour purple. However you identify, that's what you are, and who are we to say otherwise? Today, my very special guest is Coach Jen Winkler, and she's got an amazing story to tell, so I'm going to shut up and let her tell it, basically. So, Jen, yours.
Sure. Wow. Okay. There's trying to think of where to start because, in so many years. For me, basically, I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 12. So that's kind of where most of it all started. The whole thing, grand mal seizures, the whole shebang. And over time, I was put on a medication that controlled it pretty well, but not without significant effects. I gained insulin resistance, PCOS, all those kind of things. I had a severe bout of pancreatitis where I was induced into a coma for a whole week. So all these things were happening. In the meantime, they just said, keep taking the meds. It's, you'll be fine. Eventually down the road, those meds weren't working anymore. And then I switched to another one. That one wasn't working. And before I knew it, I had tried about 4 or 5 different medications. In the epilepsy community, arena, medical field, whatever you want to call it, usually after 2 or 3 medications fail, that's considered drug-resistant epilepsy. However, and then they try the ketogenic diet. However, they did not do that with me. I had to find it on my own much, much later. Once I was 220 pounds, severe anxiety, panic attacks, depression, skin issues, basically all the stuff that we hear all the time. And I happened to stumble across The Magic Pill documentary on Netflix. This was in 2018. And my husband suffered from colitis as well. So we were both like, well, we both needed to fix something. He was going to go vegan, actually, and do juicing. And then just the stuff he had heard. But we ended up saying, let's just try it. So he did it to support me, not realizing it would help him. And he actually got effects faster than I did. Within 5 weeks, his flare-ups were gone. And it's been over 5 years. He's been fine. Myself, it just took a little bit longer. But over time, went ketogenic, lost all my excess weight. Panic attacks started decreasing, got off of a bunch of medications. I'm on a very low dose of epilepsy medication currently, but it's the lowest I've had since, I think, middle school, maybe. So it says something there. And I don't have the side effects of it anymore. Went carnivore because about 3 years in, because there were still a few little things that weren't healing, my skin issues. I had just a little bit of leftover weight that wasn't budging. And the ketones, that's what it was. I was starting to gain weight again too. And my ketones weren't as high as they needed to be. I'm not a big ketone chaser, but being therapeutic ketosis, I needed to do that. So carnivore shot my ketones up. I lost more fat. I lost more weight. I felt clearer in my mind, and stayed that for, I'd say, over a year. And now I'm just at the point of kind of trying to find balance mentally, where as good as I felt on carnivore, I like to kind of make some variety here and there. So I'll have some avocado. I'll have a small cup of vegetables with my dinner or something, but it's definitely not for nutritional purposes. It's more like I just want a little bit of extra taste besides my steak I eat every day. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And I haven't noticed any ill effects from them. I'm still going strong. So my PCOS is reversed, insulin resistance reversed, cholesterol's good, everything's good. So yeah, I mean, there's so many other things I can bring up too. It's just which direction.
Awesome. Well, Ted says that on the basis of the transgressions there, we'll have to collect your card in. So you'll need to rip that in half and send it into Professor Ted, who looks after these things. And also you'll need to front up. There you go. You'll need to front up for public naming and shaming. You never really were a carnivore and you did it wrong. No, I'm just kidding, of course. No,
I know you are.
That's great. I'm the same in terms of how my particular diet is structured as well. I will have the odd, we call it herbs here. We pronounce the H, herbs, and things on the meat. Yep. I will have the odd plate of plate of blueberries if I feel like it, and Ted can go to hell, basically. So that's how we run things here. So before you decided on the coaching route, what was it you were doing for a living before that? What prompted the change? Tell us a bit about the coaching. What format is it? What are you actually doing with folks? And also, where can they find you for that?
Yeah. So I graduated from college with a degree in theology and catechetics. Catechetics is the way you teach theology, so the study of God. So I did that with a concentration in youth ministry. I was working as a youth minister for 4 years. I loved it, but then my epilepsy took a toll, and it was really hard for me to do like retreats and lock-ins and things like that where you have to stay up late. So I had to resign from that position, and I ended up teaching in an elementary school for, I believe, 3-4 years. That's when I was able to get pregnant with my son. So regardless of having PCOS and all that, I was still able to get pregnant. So thank goodness for that. So once I had my son, I decided to just stay home with my health, again, with the epilepsy, having a newborn, not getting much sleep, having sleep deprivation. I can't have caffeine. I haven't had caffeine since I was in college. It's contraindication with epilepsy, or the medication, one of them. Yeah. So I stayed home. So I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. And then upon learning all this with ketogenic, ketosis, metabolic health, that's when I was diving into all the podcasts, all the books. I'd say about 2 years in was when people, family, friends started noticing the big difference in my attitude, my patience, obviously my size, that's a given. And they started asking me about it. Like, how did you do it? What did you do? And I was like, oh yeah, this is what I did. But they were so confused still. Like, but isn't that bad for you? And how much do you eat? And you still have some fruit here and there, whatever it is. That's when I stumbled upon health coaches, and I said, oh, this is a thing. This is something I can do for a living. I went into it with the mindset of, well, I'll just tell people what to do. Here's your macros. This is what you eat, and then you'll do it. Yeah. On going through Primal Health Institute. Yeah. That's hindsight's 2020, huh? When I went through Primal Health Institute certification, I realized that's not how health coaching is. There's a lot of psychology in it. There's a lot of mental game. There's a lot of Socratic methodology, asking the questions. And then I did their master course in it. It really helped me to perfect those skills. So that's how I dove into it, was just the need around me. And I really do have a new passion for how free I feel in my body and in my life, where I'm not a slave to the carbohydrates, to the sugar. I'm not a slave to my symptoms. And I know there are thousands and thousands, if not millions, of people out there that want to feel the same way. So that's my goal as a health coach, is I want people to find that. And it may be carnivore, it may be keto, paleo, it may be primal. My approach in my coaching business is to find what works for the individual person. Yeah. So if they are somebody that likes to have an apple here and there, okay, well, let's do it in a way that's going to still support your metabolic health. And let's do it at the right timing. If you're type 2 diabetic, it might not be the best idea right now. But yeah, I help them, I educate them, I coach them through all that. My main focus is women with insulin resistance, PCOS, PMS, hormonal imbalance, and using those approaches to help them find life again.
And where do people find you if they want to be so coached?
Yeah, so I have a website, www.jenwinkler.me. So it's Jen with one N. If you want to kind of see a taste of what I do, I am very active on Instagram, so you can find me there, Coach Jen Winkler, again, one N. And I do a lot of reels. I do a lot of stories, trying to give different recipes and facts. I like using CGMs with my clients, especially since we really focus on blood sugar management. So I have a group program that's starting, I don't know when this will be released, but starting June 1st, where a lot of people haven't been able to afford the one-on-one. So I decided to make a very small group, not like one of those big 30 people ones, but 5 to 7 women kind of thing. And they can still get the individualized attention, but I don't have to charge as much because it's all in the same hour.
Yeah.
So I have that starting June 1st for 12 weeks. That's usually what I do, is a 12-week program. And then if they still need help after, we have a monthly membership to continue it however long they need. But they can find all that information on my website, and then Instagram, I post a lot of stuff there.
Brilliant. All right. Well, let's go some of those other directions that you were alluding to. Why don't you tell us what you want us to know about how your life has changed? We've heard about the weight. We've heard about the epilepsy being better under control, etc. There's probably more going on. Tell us as much as you feel comfortable with, really.
Sure. Yeah. I would say the mental health part is a big one. And I know we've heard mental health recently, especially Dr. Palmer speaking a lot with his new book. But for myself, the panic attacks and the anxiety and the insomnia were very overwhelming. For myself as well, I did suffer from PTSD. There's still slight remnants there. So for that, usually counseling's helpful, and I did go through all that. But I think there was just, I don't know, I guess like leftover stuff that was exacerbated by the unhealthy foods. So I always thought my anxiety and all that stuff was due to the PTSD, but apparently it wasn't, because I'm not suffering from it anymore. It's fine. I wasn't able to drive on highways. I would just like start getting dizzy and all that. I didn't have any car accidents or anything. It was just the anxiety from life in general. So I would say that would be one of the best things that I feel so free from, is the mental health arena, because it's a real difficult battle that's not spoken about very much. So, you know, you kind of feel alone and you feel kind of shamed if you're going to say like, yeah, and it's kind of like it's all in your head. A big thing people will say, just chill out, just take a chill pill, just go take some CBD, whatever it is. It's not the same. So that would be one thing. The other one that I have reflected on recently is having so I have a son who's 6, diagnosed on the spectrum and ADHD, and he has been quite a challenge through our life. So my patience level has been minimal in the past, but being fueled by ketones, where my brain is just like, it's just chill. And to be able to reason with him as well as you can reason with a 7-year-old or 6-year-old, and to be able to just sit and understand him and listen to him and let him vent his 6-year-old feelings, I think is one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part. You know, as a parent, you just want to nurture and love your child and support them and raise them the best way that you can. So to me, I feel like that is my favorite accomplishment, out of even more so than the weight loss, the seizure meds, all those kind of things. I just want him to be able to express himself, and I don't want to be that angry mom all the time. So I think those are the two that come up to my mind most of all.
Yeah. Two things I can relate to in a very real way myself, being myself on the spectrum, and also having, a history of mental health challenges as well. And, I think you're right. It's a thing that is not spoken about. It's a thing there is a shame feeling associated with, rightly or wrongly. And I think it's wrongly, frankly. Turns out that almost all mental health symptomology can be attributed directly to inflammation of the brain tissue. And you sort that out, and mental health symptomology, the presentation just evaporates. Certainly that's what I found. I mean, I was at a point in my mid-30s where I didn't leave the house for over a year. Couldn't step outside my house, for example. Anxiety, so I know exactly what that's all about. Not literally, but I call it hiding under the bed syndrome. I did that for a year, lived on savings for a year, more than it was. Most people don't know that because it's not something we talk about.
Right.
the autism thing, I have a particular form of autism, apparently, according to those that know about such things. And, you know, and again, with the parenting thing, I can relate to that, not as a parent myself, but as having had a couple of those at various times. Well, 3 of them actually, at various times. And my grandmother always said to my mother that my mother's greatest achievement was not drowning me. So, you know, and people that have seen any of my stuff will go, yeah, I probably would have drowned him. And then, you know, talking about relating to someone with a 6 or 7-year-old mentality who is clearly autistic in presentation, etc. I was thinking about my recent exchanges with a 9-10-year-old who has about the same mental capacity, and you know, trying to reason with someone like that. So again, I take my hat off to you for your patience, really. All right, so there's all of that. What else do we need to cover off today? I mean, we've covered a lot of stuff already in just over a quarter of an hour. How do we fill in the rest of it?
I'm a very get to the point person. Awesome. But no, what you were saying about reasoning with that with people on the spectrum, I try to put myself in his shoes, you know, and I try to view the world through his eyes. That's my way, because we see things in completely different ways. But he is a very literal minded, very brilliant child, years beyond his age. Just the social arts, you know, they would equate it to Asperger's, but they just don't say that anymore. They diagnose just strict autism. But yeah, just viewing the world through his lens makes a big difference. Because then we try to pull people with autism or, you know, and those kind of situations into our world, into our neurotypical world. Like, you need to do things the way I see it because that's what's normal. But who declares what's normal? You know, like, who declares what's, and why? Why does it have to be our way? So it's been quite an adventure with that to join him in his world and his way of seeing things, and without coddling, I guess you would say, without, well, everything's okay, like still having discipline. So it's, it's quite a balance.
It would be, I was just going to say, it would be a tough balance to kind of, you know, work out exactly where that is. And I presume there's no manual that you can read.
No, we did do, so our whole family eats some version of ketogenic, ketovore, or whatever it is. So we don't buy the junk food in the house. The only time my son will actually have something like that was like today was the last day of school. So they had some oranges, strawberries, which he eats that at home anyways, and a popsicle. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, go have the popsicle. Who cares? That's one day. But we do strictly say no red food dye because of the ADHD. And he was on medication for a little bit, but we were able to titrate him off and just put him on supplements of GABA. And there's been studies on saffron extract for ADHD. So we did that. And that was a huge help for focus for him too. So it's really, you know, any parent out there that's watching that has kids with autism, ADHD, there are like natural ways of managing those kind of things through diet, through supplements and stuff. A lot of people would never guess. They're like, he has that? I would have never guessed. So yeah, give it time.
Yeah. And the other thing I would suggest is don't drown them, because they can turn out all right. I mean, a lot of people might say, well, you didn't turn out all right. You just think you did. But, you know, if people could see where I've come from and where I've got to, and also if people could understand that what you see on YouTube, on the videos, the different characters that I play, the different presentations that I allow to come forth and manifest at different times. People, that is not the real person from the real world. That is a character on the YouTube platform for views, for educational purpose, to promote the various businesses that I'm involved in. That is not an actual person. People seem to think that, they don't get it. You know, how do you see that? Like when you're in the coaching role, when you're doing that job, when you've got that hat on, are you strictly yourself, or is there some different character?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a different character. What I have to do, and I don't do this all the time, but I need to, is 10, 15 minutes before the session, just sit and whatever is pissing me off in the world or whatever's on my brain, just let it go. But sometimes that can't practically happen due to whatever situation. I would say in moments like that, I would have more like a mask on, in a sense, where it's just that big smile. Okay, here we are. I'm going to root you on. I'm going to guide you through your troubles. And even though I have mine of my own, I have to shove those to the side for now to focus on you. Yep. Thank God they're like 30 minutes long, because once that 30 minutes is done and I hang up, it's okay. Now I can go deal with it. It's hard though. It's, especially if it's a call where the client's just really struggling themselves and you just want to knock them off the top of their head and say, get it straight, which that's not going to work, but that's just the initial, like, inside. It's not what I do. I don't shame people.
I let Ted play bad cop. He's if someone needs dealing with, it's Ted that gets sent around to do the visit and make sure that they understand. And he takes his little truncheon. Oh, come on, funny man, around the kneecaps. That's what you should have. You should have an offsider that's bad cop, perhaps.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I'll have to find a name for one.
Yeah. All right. Well, as I say, short and sweet and to the point, and that's absolutely fine. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet with you finally, Jen. It's been a long time in coming. I've actually been following mostly your Instagram stuff for a while. And, it really is a very interesting window into somebody's life. Not that, you're the only one on Instagram. Of course, there are lots of different people to follow, but there are those people, those profiles, those stories that do grab one's attention. And I think Jen's is one of those. That's why I asked her to come and talk to us. And you've not disappointed. We've got the full range, I think, on how all of that is. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
Sure. Yeah. Just, I guess whoever's watching, wherever you're at in your journey, don't compare yourself to others. There's a lot of comparison out there where, especially on Instagram and social media, where you see so-and-so doing this fad, this new thing, that person has a flatter tummy, whatever it is. Comparison is the thief of joy. And you can't compare. You have to just go on your own journey and compare yourself to yourself and just keep going. And if you need help, find somebody like me. If I'm not the match for you, find somebody else, but don't succumb to just barely living when you can truly be thriving and truly be doing the best that you can. So, I guess that would be the final thought.
Absolutely sage words. Love it. It's a process. There's a destination in mind, but it's not necessarily about the destination. It's about the process. Be present, be in the process, enjoy the ride. Join me next time.
Yes, exactly.
When someone will be wrong on the interwebs, probably, because it doesn't look like that's going to slow down anytime soon. See you then.